Hello, this is on abortion. To United States abortionclock.org as of May 7th at 3:14 p.m. There's been in the United States since 1973 when Roe versus Wade became law. 59,444,500, nearly 600 committed. Question: where were you when each abortion was committed? Why are you waiting for the Supreme Court to vote down Roe versus Wade? Have you been waiting since 1973 when it became the law of the land? Another question I ask is this: after 40 views on my abortion video, I decided to do another one on abortion. I streamed the video on February 8th, 2017, and from that day until March 28th, no one had watched my video. Now, even more have viewed my abortion video March 28th. Why? How come you are now interested in my abortion video? Is it because the politicians have brought the abortion up again? If they do not bring it up, you are not interested. God gave this responsibility to the Church of Jesus Christ. Politicians. The abortion battle rages as fierce as ever, especially in the political world where it has been held since 1973, with conservative and liberal, anti-abortionist / pro-life, and pro-abortionist / pro-choice groups fiercely ripping each other apart in an unbelievable cold war of words that is anything but cold. It's a miserable standoff not getting anywhere with the politicians. I believe that they should get this out of the political arena and into the common people's hands, since it is predominantly the common people who are beset with this kind of problem anyway, and let them fuel the debate. A woman may argue, why should she keep the pregnancy? I did not want the baby or ask for it. Is it in my body? Shouldn't I do with my body what I want with it? Why can't I terminate it? Why can't I terminate this pregnancy? A woman may cry out that a man raped and ravaged her body and got her pregnant, and for that reason exclaim, why should she keep the pregnancy? While the arguments that go back and forth still rage, we have a tendency to forget that there is someone hurting who really needs help in figuring out the plight of their circumstances. Needs that a woman in her situation has that push her towards the belief that she has not much discourse but to turn to abortion for that answer. There is much help out there. There is much out there to help her in truth. If the woman is kept from having the abortion, there are plenty of loving and caring people and agencies who can help a woman in her time of need, such as plenty who are willing to adopt a child, even children who came into the world through rape or incest. If there are any who came out of the woman as a Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or some other handicapped child like them, there are plenty who will want and be willing to adopt a child or foster a child like that also. We really should be sympathetic and compassionate towards a woman and a man in their situation. Their situation is not an easy one to handle. Her pregnancy may, after all, be not because of some irresponsibility, indifference, or selfishness on their part. Indeed, there are many cases in which it was irresponsibility, indifference, and selfishness of the person or couple's act. In this case, we should be very angry. This anger, however, should be directed into the proper channel. Each and every one of us, including child rape, incest, and Down syndrome child, or any other child that has a handicap, has been created in the image of God. He or she has a right to live because they have been created by a loving God to live a full life, just like you who are living a full life have a right to live as well. It's because God gave us that right. God has given that right to that child within the woman also. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28 says, Then God said, Let us make man in our image, and in our likeness. So God created man in his own image, and in the image of God he created him, male and female. He created him. God blessed them and said to them, Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over all the earth. Since God has created all of us in his image, and since God loves and cares for all he has created, shouldn't we all love and care also? And through all that he has made, for all that he has made, God is love, and we are made in his image. If God is love, and we are made in his image, shouldn't we so love all he has created? We are, after all, reflections of his love, even they. As created things, shouldn't we exercise good stewardship and proper rule over all the earth? Just as God here in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28 so states. I will get back to Genesis chapter 1. I'll read that in a few moments. Well, maybe I will read that. It's the premise on why you're right. Genesis chapter 1. On the first day, God said, Let there be light, and there was light. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. He called the light good. On the second day, God said, Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Let it separate the waters from the waters. God made the expanse and separated the waters which were below the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse heaven. On the third day, then God said, Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Let there be vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on earth. Brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them, after their kind. And God saw that it was good. On the fourth day, God said, Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens, to separate the day from the night. Let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and years. Let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. On the fifth day, God said, Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens. God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds multiply the earth. God said, Let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after their kind. God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over all creeping thing that creeps on the earth. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created him. God blessed them and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it. And rule over the fish in the sea, and over the birds in the sky, and over every living thing that moves on earth. Then God said, Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you. To every beast on earth, and to every bird in the sky, to everything that moves on earth, which has life, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. So after God made man, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, he says, God saw that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Before God created mankind, he created the heavens, the earth, the seas, and all other things that live in them, and said that it is good. But after he created man, he said that it is very good. By creating man after the rest of creation, and proclaiming the creation of man to be very good, and by giving man the task of subduing and yielding and ruling over his creation, God indicated that mankind was the crown of all of his creation and a superior being over it, over all of it. When we gaze upon or study creation, we say how beautiful it is. But when we study the human body, we say, wow. Psalm 139, verse 13 through 16. For you, God, formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you, God, when I was made in secret, and skillfully wrought in the depths of the earth. Your eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. Psalm 139, verse 13 through 16 is talking about a baby in his or her mother's womb. When a woman conceives an embryo in her womb, God brings to skillfully make this child. Even though a man cannot see what is going on within his egg, the creator of this zygote, as it's called, does see this unformed substance. He in secret creates this human life. He follows the blueprint of what this person is meant to be. God's blueprint is in the mind of God. That is his book. God does not need a book to be written for him that he would need to get reference from. Opposite of him, man, who needs one written for him. This book is the Bible. Science is not to be the reference for truth. God is, for he has created. Furthermore, he has given us his word, the Bible, to teach us truth. That is the beginning reference point. Now, in keeping with our reference point, the Bible, we read in the Bible, Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. Now the man had relations with his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain, not a man-child with the help of the Lord. Taken with Psalm 139, verse 13 through 16. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that very full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Ordained, A, to establish or order by appointment, decree, or law. B, predestined, foreordained. From conception to birth, straight through its development, from the fetus stage on through the birth process, from conception to birth, this is child. And God himself, behind it all, seeing it through. When the sperm cell meets the egg cell and they attach themselves to the woman's uterus, it becomes what is called a zygote. Forming a human being begins. This is called an embryo up to the end of 8 weeks of development, when all organs of the unborn baby begin to form. After this period of time, it begins to be called a fetus. Much of the arguments about abortion center around the fetus. From the time the unborn child begins to be called a fetus, up until the time that the woman gives birth. There is an argument that gets thrown into the argument on abortion, and that is the right to abort the newly formed embryo. What they call the abortion pill or morning after pill. There's something different also. By the time I spoke this, there's been another one. This is a quick and easy way to abort the embryo or egg. You hear the egg argument for embryonic stem cells, others called the adult cells. You hear of the argument for embryonic stem cells. They say these will be a miracle cure for all kinds of diseases of human life. But they will have to abort fetuses in order to give these embryonic stem cells. This, they say, will justify them aborting fetus. But I say the end does not justify the means here. The Bible proves that this is a human baby from the point of conception to the time of the baby's birth. Genesis 4, verse 1 and Psalm 139. Some argue that when a mother's life is in danger, abortion should be allowed. But should she be able to abort this child? Should this be left up to the mother? Should it be left to one's conscience? Is it justified? Who should live, mother or child? And who has the right to decide these things? Jesus, being God, the second person of the Holy Trinity, had the humility to become a man. He was God and man. He came not for his own interest, but for man. Even a man, he continued to be God, but made himself nothing by taking on the very nature of the servant, even to the point of death, even death on the cross. He came so that many may live who were doomed to die. This righteous and holy one, being without sin, did not deserve to die, for the one who sins is the one who will die. Ezekiel 18:20. He was without sin. Death is the penalty of sin. The wages of sin is death. Romans 6:23. But yet he willingly died so that they may have life. All those who put their faith and trust in him. Those that have put their faith and trust in him must, like him, go and deliver them who will be subject to the same fate as the others. As far as the question of the mother's life being in danger, nobody but the mother, father, and family should make that decision, and in peace they should make it. The mother may want to follow the example of the Lord Jesus Christ and decide to die for her child. This would, of course, be a tremendously difficult decision to make, but this decision is to be made between her and her family and God alone. According to man's law, the deliberate, unjustified killing of an innocent person is murder. It is written on the conscience of men and by God himself. God commanded that to murder is sin. God's sixth commandment is thou shalt not murder. Conscience either acquits or condemns you. It may scare you or comfort you. Romans 2, verse 15. They showed that the requirements of the law are written in their hearts, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. But the conscience and the heart can be deceiving. You cannot fully trust them. Hebrews 3:13. But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all else and desperately wicked, says the Lord. How many murders are committed by those who have no conscience? According to investigators and prosecutors, they would say that the murderers have no conscience. There are those who murder that believe they are justified in killing their victims. There are those who commit murders with a good conscience because they were saving themselves. These are those who are hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. Ultimately, God is the true judge of our hearts and consciences. Romans 2, verse 16. On the day when, according to my gospel, God will judge the secrets of men through Jesus Christ. We can only judge righteously and justly on our consciences and in our actions by the Spirit of truth and in God's word, the Bible. John 14, verse 16 to 17, and John 16:13. The Spirit of God and his word is advocate, guide, and helper. Psalm 119, verse 105. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Deep down into one's very soul, this is where the absolute truth lies, for God put it there. The children that are born of incest and rape, babies that are born mongoloid or some other type of infant, will all in one accord exclaim one day that yes, we too are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and my soul knows it very well. It is for you, God, for you formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb, and I will give thanks to you for life. As Psalm 139, verse 13 and 14 says, for you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. The church, for the most part, has not pleased the Lord in serving the coming in in the serving and coming to the rescue and help of the unborn. It has failed for the most part to take the character and example of the Lord Jesus Christ to the world. The murder of babies in the mother's womb continues to plague us. Philippians chapter 2, verse 1 to 8 says this: If you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and one of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Yet, rather, he made himself nothing by taking very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on the cross. My plumber was a raped baby. His mother was raped, but had him anyway. You should see him now. He has a wife and children. He is a great plumber and a wonderful husband and father. I do thank you for this time. I do pray that you consider what has been said to you. This is on abortion, and that's my prayer that you love these children for the created image of God, even the handicapped. For there are those who are willing to give them a good life. Thank you for listening to this message and spread the word. Thank you.